I wasn't expecting much from my sister's birthday party. Truth is, I almost didn't go. We were never close growing up. She was always the star, the golden child who could do no wrong. I was the afterthought. The disappointment, but still, something in me wanted to be there that day. Maybe it was the stupid hope that things could be different. Maybe I just missed feeling like I belonged somewhere. I hadn't been home in months, not since losing my job and struggling to keep a roof over my head. My situation was bad. I was crashing in a friend's car, scraping together change for gas, trying to find work wherever I could. But even in all of that, I never asked my family for help, not once. I showed up with a small gift. Nothing expensive, just a little framed photo of the two of us when we were kids. I thought it might mean something. I wore the cleanest clothes I had, trying not to look like the mess I felt inside. The house looked the same, filled with balloons and expensive decorations, loud music pumping, her friends laughing and posing for selfies like they were at some celebrity event. I stepped in, tried to keep my head low, tried not to make it about me. I stood in the corner, unnoticed for a few minutes. Then she saw me. She stopped mid-sentence, eyes narrowing like I was something she'd stepped in. Her voice cut through the music. "Wait, is he seriously here?" Everyone turned. She pointed at me with a perfectly manicured nail, like I was some stray animal that wandered in. "Homeless, get out." The room froze, some people gasped, a few laughed, one girl pulled out her phone, recording. I stood there stunned. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to say something to defend me. But my mom crossed her arms like I was the one who ruined everything. My dad muttered, "You really shouldn't have come here." Like I'd crashed a stranger's party. They didn't care about how low I'd fallen. They didn't care that I was their son. All they saw was someone who didn't fit their perfect image. My sister smirked, soaking in the attention, the power. That night, I slept in the car again. But this time it felt different. I wasn't just broke, I was broken. Not because I didn't have a place to stay or a job to go to, but because I finally understood what I meant to the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I was nothing to them, an embarrassment, a stain on their polished image. I stared at the ceiling of the car, my stomach empty, my chest heavy. The cold crept in through the windows, and for the first time in a long while, I cried. Not quiet tears either, just raw, angry sobs that left my throat burning. The days that followed were the lowest point of my life. I'd wake up stiff and sore from sleeping in the cramped backseat, brush my teeth in gas station bathrooms, wash my face in sinks, dodging looks from strangers. I picked up work wherever I could, hauling boxes, delivering food, handing out flyers, unloading inventory. Whatever paid, I did it. I saved every penny, spending only on the bare minimum. But at night, I didn't let myself waste time. I'd park under streetlights and pull out an old laptop I'd found in a dumpster behind an office building. It was barely working, but it powered on. That was enough. I'd connect to free Wi-Fi outside cafes and libraries, teaching myself coding and digital marketing. Anything that could open doors. I watched free tutorials for hours, sometimes until the battery died or my fingers went numb from the cold. I kept thinking about how my sister looked at me that night, like I was beneath her, and my parents, how they turned their backs on me like I didn't even matter. That memory haunted me, but it also lit a fire inside me. I promised myself I'd never be that powerless again. I stopped thinking like a victim. I didn't want pity. I wanted progress. I started taking freelance gigs, building basic websites for small businesses. It was slow, and I made mistakes. But I learned. I started getting better, faster. Clients started recommending me. I got my first real paycheck from a business that found me on a freelancing site. It wasn't much, but when that money hit my account, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, hope. The first time I walked into my own apartment, key in hand, I stood there for a full minute just staring at the empty space. It was small, nothing fancy, but it was clean, it was quiet, and it was mine. No more sleeping in cars or wondering if I'd be kicked off someone's couch. I bought a mattress, set up a small desk, and started working harder than ever. My freelance gigs turned into long-term clients. Then those clients referred me to others. Before I knew it, I was drowning in work. That's when I hired my first contractor, a graphic designer from overseas, then a copywriter. I built a small team and we started doing full service digital marketing. I named the agency something simple, but the results we got were anything but. I reinvested everything I earned back into the business, learned how to manage cash flow, how to pitch bigger companies, how to write proposals that got yeses. I started waking up at 5 a.m., hitting the gym, reading business books, watching podcasts. I didn't have time for distractions, no partying, no scrolling for hours, just pure focus. I knew what I wanted, and I knew what it was going to take to get there. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore, I was chasing excellence. The agency hit its first six-figure year, then we doubled that. Then I launched a course teaching others how to start their own businesses from scratch. That went viral. Thousands of people signed up. I started getting invited to speak on podcasts and webinars. People started calling me self-made. Funny how quickly they forget where you came from once you make it to the top. I upgraded to a sleek, modern apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that made everything feel possible. I bought a brand new car, not to show off, just because I could. I started investing, diversifying. My bank account was finally as strong as I had always known I could be. I built a life no one could take from me. One morning, I opened my email and saw a name I hadn't thought about in months, my sister. She sent a message like nothing had happened, like we were old friends catching up. I laughed and closed the tab without replying. Later that week, another name showed up in my inbox, my mom's. Her tone was different, almost apologetic. She wrote about how things had gotten tough, how they could use some help, how family should stick together. I didn't respond to the email, not right away. I let it sit there in my inbox unopened, like a ghost from a past life. I already knew what it was about. Word had gotten around that I was doing well, that the kid they'd kicked out, humiliated, forgotten, was now successful. I'm sure my sister told them after she realized I wasn't going to answer her. I guess desperation makes you remember people you once threw away, but I wasn't interested in giving out handouts, not to the people who treated me like I was a disease. Still, I was curious. I looked into what was going on. Turns out my sister had launched some flashy influencer business, cheap products, fake followers, empty hype. It tanked hard. She owed money to suppliers, investors, even old friends. My parents, of course, had bailed her out, put their house up as collateral for a business that never had legs to stand on. And when it all came crashing down, the bank came knocking. Their house, the same one they threw me out of, was going to be auctioned. And I made sure I was there. I walked into the room calmly, dressed in a tailored suit, my assistant beside me with the paperwork. I didn't say a word to anyone, just bid. And when the final call came, the house was mine. Paid in full, no mortgage, no loan, just cash. They didn't even realize what had happened until the notice went up. I could imagine their faces when they saw the new owner's name. Imagine their confusion turning to disbelief, then dread. When I showed up on the lawn with the deed in hand, they came outside like they'd seen a ghost. My dad tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. My mom looked like she was about to cry. My sister wasn't even home, probably too ashamed to face me. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just looked them in the eyes, calm as ever, and said the same words they had once told me in front of a room full of people. Get out. My dad opened his mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to beg, but I wasn't interested in excuses. I had waited years for this moment, not because I needed to hurt them, but because I needed to remind them of the choice they made. They had kicked me out of their lives when I was down. Now I was standing on top, and they were the ones scrambling for solid ground. In the end, I realized the real revenge wasn't buying their house or watching them pack their things in silence. It wasn't the cold satisfaction of turning the tables, even though that moment did bring a certain justice I'd long craved. The real revenge was becoming everything they said I couldn't be. Without them, I didn't succeed because they believed in me. I succeeded because I believed in myself when no one else did. There was a time I would have done anything for their approval. I would have begged for their love, starved for their validation. But now, standing in the ruins of what they once built, this perfect little image they worked so hard to protect, I felt nothing but clarity. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their guilt. I didn't need them at all. What I needed was the pain, the betrayal, the rock bottom, because it pushed me into becoming someone unshakable, someone who didn't fold under pressure, who didn't quit when the world turned its back. So no, I didn't forgive them. I didn't invite them back in, but I also didn't let their cruelty define me. I used it, I transformed it, and I rose. If you're watching this and you've ever been made to feel like you're nothing, like you don't belong, remember this: being cast out isn't the end of your story. It might just be the beginning of your rise. Let them laugh, let them point, let them throw you out. One day, they'll be standing at your door, and you'll decide if they even deserve to knock.